lot of these, end of season, the way they end so abruptly. How tough is it, given how close this group was?
Yeah, it sucks. Most of all, it's just awkward, man. Everyone's feeling bitter, but individually, there were a lot of good seasons that happened in this room, so, that's praise that needs to be shared, but, ultimately, as a group, we're all pretty bitter. I think most of us are going to be watching the World Series here in 3 weeks, wishing it was us, thinking that it should have been us, but it ended the way it did, and ultimately we had a lot of young guys gather some really valuable experience.
Bregman was mentioning that you want to kind of soak all this in and use it as motivation moving forward. Did you see that as well, and do you sense that from you?
Yeah, it's too early to feel that right now. It's the season coming to an end when you don't expect it to. It kind of slaps you in the face, but yeah, I thought that Early threw the ball great tonight, man. Some CNI singles, some balls that landed just where people weren't that, you could say were mishit. I'd say they were mishit. Ultimately, I feel like it was the biggest start of his life, and he looked great out there. Totally put up a 0 in his postseason outing. I think that we were asking a lot of some really young guys with, little major league service time to compete in the postseason at a really high level and in a really hostile environment. And ultimately, they answered the call. I've got a lot of belief that those guys are going to continue to contribute to the direction that this team's going.
So if the expectation had been, if the belief is that you could have made it to the World Series, what do you think did not allow that to happen?
Ultimately we ran into a tough team. I'm sure that they have the same belief over there, and they had a guy that threw the ball tonight that none of us had seen before, and frankly probably just had the best start of his life. It was electric from start to finish, and in moments like that when the guy's throwing 4+ pitches right where he wants to, there's not a whole lot you can do, to be honest. Ultimately, they executed better than we did this series. That's all it is.
You talked about just, that young core, and even with guys that aren't even here, like Roman and Marcelo. What does it just say about the future of the club, even though, in the moment right now it stings? But
yeah, I think that it gives us a lot to look forward to. Sucks to say right now that, we're looking forward. But ultimately, that's our realities. That's the only way that we're going to move. Right now it's, kind of that so what next pitch mentality, and next pitch for us is in five months. So, everybody in this room has a lot to reflect on, and ultimately get to work.
When you reflect on the 2025 season, what are the first things that come to mind for the group and also for you personally?
Yeah. First season wearing the Red Sox uni, of many to come. I felt like I grew a big attachment to the fan base, to the coaching staff, and all my teammates here. Really enjoyed it and really wore the uniform with pride, and can't wait to do it again next year.
What did you have? What could you have done out of the bullpen today?
Who's to say? Just because the situation never really arose and my name wasn't called, but just willing to do whatever it took. I think that was the general theme coming into today. For all 26 men was whatever it takes. I'll be that guy if you guys need me to. Bayo was down there with me. We were all just willing to sacrifice everything if it meant the betterment for the team.
You mentioned some of the young guys making their first postseason appearances. You're one of those guys. What did you learn about yourself?
It wasn't my first postseason appearance.
Right, but it was first.
Yeah. I didn't learn anything I didn't already know. Coming off the heels of a good year, I went into that game with confidence and just executed the best of my ability. Just try to put the team in a position to win as best as possible.
What is the significance of the team retaining Alex Bregman this offseason?
Yeah, I think that would be huge, and obviously he was a big boost to the team this year. I think everyone's got nothing but positive things to say about him as a teammate. That's out of my control, regardless of where he ends up. I hope it's with us, but that's a guy that I'll root on for the rest of his career.
thanks, Garrett.
Thank you.